Nobody had ever done it before. No record to chase, no history to follow. Guillermo Stabile just ran and scored and ran again. 8 goals, a tournament that had never existed before, a record that would outlive everyone who watched it. They called him the Rubber Man, and when you watched him play, you understood why. His body did things bodies aren't supposed to do. 7 goals in France and a bicycle kick that made the whole world forget to breathe. 11 goals in one World Cup, a record that has stood for over 70 years and will probably stand forever. Sandor Kocsis didn't just score goals, he collected them, like it was the easiest thing in the world. He was 17 years old, 17, and when the final whistle blew, he collapsed and cried. Not from sadness, from something too big to hold inside. The world had just met Pelé, and nothing was ever the same. Pelé got injured in the second game, and the world panicked. Then Garrincha smiled, and the world relaxed. With his crooked legs and his dancing feet, he reminded everyone that football was never meant to be serious. It was meant to be joy. 9 goals. 9, and at the end he cried, standing on the Wembley pitch, tears running down his face. The Black Panther wept, not because he was weak, but because he cared more than anyone in that stadium, more than anyone watching. He wasn't tall, he wasn't fast, he wasn't graceful. But inside the penalty box, Gerd Müller was the most dangerous human being alive. 10 goals in Mexico, because some people are just born to score. He came back 4 years later, quieter, older, but still deadly. His winning goal in the final was pure instinct. No thought, no hesitation. Just Gerd Müller, doing what Gerd Müller always did, scoring when it mattered most. The paper rained from the sky like snow, and Kemp's ran through it all, hair flying, defenders falling, the whole of Argentina screaming his name. 6 goals, 2 in the final. A nation carried on the back of one man. For 2 years, he hadn't scored. 2 years of silence, of doubt, of people writing him off. And then, Spain, 1982, 6 goals in 3 games. Paolo Rossi didn't just return, he came back louder than anyone expected. 6 goals, Golden Boot, a brilliant tournament. And still, this World Cup belonged to someone else. Gary Lineker was a top scorer in Mexico in 1986. The history only had room for one name that summer, and that name was Nobody expected him. Nobody had even heard of him. And then those eyes, wild, wide, burning, appeared on every screen in the world. Scalacci came from nowhere and lit up Italian 90 with 6 goals and a stare that nobody forgot. One scored 5 in a single game. The other carried a tiny nation further than anyone thought possible. Solenko and Stoichkov, 6 goals each, shared Golden Boot, completely different stories. That's what makes this game beautiful. That one chip over the goalkeeper in the semi-final, it wasn't just a goal, it was a statement. Dvorak Suker played football like he had all the time in the world. 6 goals in France and a Golden Boot he absolutely deserved. 4 years earlier, he lay on the floor in Paris, shaking, broken, barely there. 4 years later, he scored twice in the World Cup final and laughed. That laugh, pure, free, unstoppable. Ronaldo didn't just win the World Cup in 2002, he won it back. He never trash-talked, never celebrated wildly. He just did a little somersault, like a kid in a playground, and jogged back to the halfway line. Miroslav Klose scored 16 World Cup goals across 4 tournaments, quietly, consistently, completely He was 20 years old. He looked like he'd wandered in from a school trip. And then he scored 5 goals, won the Golden Boot, won Best Young Player, and smiled like none of it was a big deal. Thomas Muller arrived in South Africa as a boy. He left as something else entirely. The chest control, the turn, the volley. When James Rodriguez scored that goal against Uruguay, the entire world stood up at the same time. 6 goals, a Golden Boot, and a tournament that made a 22-year-old Colombian the most watched player on earth. 6 goals, captain, Golden Boot, England's best World Cup in a generation. And still, it ended in a semi-final. Harry Kane scored everything he was asked to score. The rest just wasn't meant to be. Not yet. 8 goals, a hat-trick in the final, 3 goals in 90 minutes, and it still wasn't enough. Kylian Mbappé did everything a human being can do in a football match. But on that night in Lusail, destiny had already chosen someone else. His time is coming. Everyone knows it, even him.